Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel and thank you for watching. Today we're going to play some pure Ryzeal. So this is the list I've cooked up. It's pretty standard, you've got the 1-star Ryzeal, the 1-node Ryzeal, you're obviously maxed out on your X Ryzeal, you're obviously maxed out on 7th Tachyon. I'm only playing one card for the 7th Tachyon, the Star Seraph Sentry, because in my opinion you basically only need to search either Ice or X. You could play the Battle and Boxer and search Sword sometimes, but I didn't feel like it was worth it to put that in the extra deck when you just have other rank 4s that you would rather make in a lot of situations. I'm not sure if Star Seraph Sentry is actually the best level 4 light monster for 7th Tachyon. There is another option, but Masquerade, but I don't know if Masquerade is better or worse. They're both 3 material monsters that give you 1 negate for detaching material. So they could come up in theory, but it depends on which one is actually, this one halves attack though, so that seems kind of useful. But the other one negates and destroys, so and you're not really trying to summon them. I do have Exciton Knight in here, even though I'm not on the Fiendsmith cards. I just think it's actually pretty strong into the format. It's beaten me, or almost beaten me, quite a few times, so I definitely wanted to run that. You've of course got Infernal Flame Banshee to add Star Ryzeal and detach a material from itself to summon the Star Ryzeal. That means you get your 1 Ryzeal cross more often. And we are running Plug-in and Plasma Hole as well, so your ideal board will be like Detonator, Duo Drive with 2 materials, Starliege, Photon, Blast Dragon, or Detonator, Duo Drive, and 2 draws and a discard off Duquaris, or stuff like that a lot of the time. Plasma Hole can help you make Zeus on the opponent's turn, but only if they attack into your Detonator. So because otherwise it won't meet the summoning requirements for Zeus. But I still think Zeus is still worth it to have in such a Xyz-focused deck. And the same is true about Typhon, and just as a general case card in a Ryzeal format, being able to stop Detonator from popping things is kind of important, and then bouncing it back to the hand, it's really worth it. And then, Starliege, Photon, Blast Dragon, if you detach the materials from this with your Duo Drive in order to get your searches, then your Duo Drive remains protected from targeting effects, including negations, and boosts the Starliege Photon up high enough that it also is protected from those negations, those targeted negations. Stuff like Imperm, Effect Failure, all that good stuff ends up being a lot less effective versus these cards. I'm on Fuwalos. I'm not on Perulia, but Perulia does make some amount of sense. The Biru doesn't feel all that great, but I need it as a small world bridge, and that's basically the one thing I'm doing really different from a lot of people, is I'm playing small world. This is mostly a concession to it being an SR instead of a UR, but also I think it's better into Droll, which is a really common card used to stop Ryzeal. One thing I will say is that with your 7th Tachyon and your small world, you usually want to be searching Ice Ryzeal if you don't have it, because that way if they Droll you, you still at least put up a Detonator, and that might win you the game. Not much else to say. You're playing the Max C minigame. There's a Ghost Ogre because it's also kind of bridgeable card into the Ryzeal engine. And Max C, luckily enough, bridges right through Sword Ryzeal, so it's very convenient. Small World is actually really good in this deck. It loses to Lancia, so it isn't perfect. It beats Droll but loses to Lancia, so I can see why a lot of people are on 7th Ascension, but especially because you can also use 7th Ascension to put back your spells and traps from your hand. But generally speaking, your spells and traps are so good that you wouldn't want to be putting them back unless you had nothing else to do anyway, and yeah. Alright, let's try and play some games with Ryzeal. Alright, now we just have to hope we don't brick. We didn't technically brick, but it's not a great hand. Small world. Effect failure. Biru into Ice Ryzeal. Almost have an Ice Ryzeal. Ice Ryzeal effect. Ash that. Well, this hand is actually really stacked for this situation. Ryzeal. Go into Infernal Flame Banshee as summon number 3. Infernal Flame Banshee. Search out Star Ryzeal. Add the Star Ryzeal to my hand. Let me special summon Star Ryzeal. Star Ryzeal. Sets Ryzeal Cross. Ryzeal Cross. Special summon Node Ryzeal. Overlay for Duo Drive. Duo Drive. Sword Ryzeal and Ryzeal plugin. We special summon Sword Ryzeal. Sword Ryzeal effect. That's X Ryzeal. And the X Ryzeal effect. Summoning condition, technically. But X Ryzeal. Make detonator defense position. Detonator effect. Attach Myriologic Aggregator. Ryzeal Cross. Reset X and Ice. Set 2. Pass the turn. Alright, and that takes me to Master 1. Man, it's been a rough month. I'm so grateful I finally got there. I really am. Now I can enter Rating Duels for the 3rd time. That's kind of nice. Last time I got to top 5% and then immediately fell pretty hard, so... yeah. I want to play a couple more games, but I just want to take a quick look at the deck list, see if there's anything I maybe want to change. I mean, you could always run SP. There's not a lot of situations where you can make it because the Ryzeal summoning conditions lock you into rank 4 Xyz monsters, but normal summon Ice Ryzeal technically makes SP doable, and that also does give you something to do in the case that your opponent deburies you. But I'm not that worried about that, so... Alright, let's get into Rating Duels. Going first a couple times in a row, that feels nice. Why am I on my Maliss deck? Oh, because I was playing Maliss last time I was in Rating Duels. Haha. Okay, well, we're getting a bonus Maliss game in here. And then I guess we'll play one with Fiendsmith Ryzeal and we'll call that a video. So we're doing what we can to play around Nibiru here. That's why I didn't activate the Dormouse effect. Now if all goes well, I will still be able to activate the Dormouse effect if I need it. But I very likely am not going to need it. Do I have Fualos in my deck? Give me a second, I haven't played this in a while. No, I'm on Droll instead of Fualos. Well, I only have one corruption, but my other option is to play in Fualos, which is dangerous for Maliss. You have to do so many summons out of the extra deck in order to play your game plan. So I guess one banish for one draw will have to do. Dang. I could have saved the banish for later. I know I could have, but also that wasn't gonna win me the game. So now I don't have to worry about toggling off. Or maybe I do. Good enough for me. Not the deck I was intending to play in the first place. Transcendence. That's nice. I'm going to put that title on right now. Okay. Let's play a game with the Fiendsmith Ryzeal deck and just show it off, and then we'll call it a video. I think Fiendsmith Ryzeal is the weaker version of this deck, but it is still a Ryzeal deck, and it's also still a Fiendsmith deck, so it's good, right? It's not a bad deck. It's just I think pure Ryzeal is actually a little bit consistently stronger, but which is interesting. I guess it makes sense that it would align with the way things worked in the OCG more than the TCG, but I was really optimistic that Fiendsmith Ryzeal would actually end up being the best deck of the format, and it's not a bad deck, but it's not the best deck of the format. So that was alright. Pretty short game, but that does almost reach the 20-minute mark, so we'll just play one more game. I want one more game with Fiendsmith Ryzeal deck. Hopefully it'll be a good one. Well, 2 hand traps. The problem with seeing 2 hand traps in this format is that it kind of takes 3 to get around 1 card plus an extender. But having said that, it's better to have 2 hand traps than 0. It's just not significantly better to have 2 hand traps than just 1 most of the time. Let's play around talent if we can. Might not be able to, but cross out. Yeah, I guess we can't. You want to fight over it? I will fight over it. Okay. Well, I guess I'll let them do their thing, find out whether or not they're a Bow Crew, or, you know, just show off the Maliss deck from the perspective of someone actually getting to combo off. But This game is over. They're even playing around nib. I don't have nib, but it's pretty wise of them. People have gotten a lot better with the Maliss deck this month than last month too, honestly. Last month I was playing Maliss mirrors with a less than stellar version of Maliss. I only had one of each of my main starters. And then I was running 3 Signet Mining and 3 Allure to make up for the missing 6 starters. And that's obviously not what I want to run in my Maliss deck right now. But I was still beating a bunch of people who were running the version they did want to run. And yeah, some of them were also on Signet Mining or Allure some of the time. But they were running what they considered an optimized version, and I was running, what I do not consider an optimized version. And I was winning the mirror anyway. One, I didn't get Lancea, but of course, now that Lancea is less common, Maliss is in a weird way, it's in a slightly better position than last format. It's more fun to play, because it's not just getting sacked every turn. Or sacking people. Sacking people's not that much better than getting sacked, for that matter. I mean, I'd rather win than lose, for sure, but Well, the card points to a monster. They didn't summon it in the right zone to make it unnegatable. Of course, I still have an Appaloosa and White Binder, so... okay. This with track. Add Larry. Start Larry. Summon Larry. sacked by Lancia. Never mind, when I said that it's not so sacky anymore, I was wrong. I was wrong! Holy fuck. They've demoralized me. They've sufficiently demoralized me. Well, not necessarily the best showing ever, but I got to have some games, and I'm up in Rating Duels now, so that's nice. You know, even just getting to Rating Duels means that I'm doing pretty well by my own standards. You know, a few months ago I would have never even thought I could get to Master, let alone Master 1. So I'm making progress at a pretty quick rate, getting into the top 5% of players on Rating Duels for a little while. That's pretty impressive. Getting my almost top 1,000 in the World Championship qualifier. So, yeah, that's all for the video, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment telling me what your favorite part of this video was, or what your least favorite part of this video was. Please be nice in the comments, guys. Pretty please, to each other and to me. Alright, love you, boo. Bye.